The greatest threat to Superman is Lex Luthor.
Smarter than I thought. We can make the world safe for war profits.
He's created the ultimate weapon to annihilate the Man of Steel.
You'd risk worldwide nuclear war for your own personal financial gain.
Nobody wants war. I just want to keep the threat alive.
Dude of Steel. Where are you gonna get it?
You know you're a workaholic. Why don't you stop and smell the roses, huh?
Superman 4, Christopher Reeve, Gene Hackman, Jackie Cooper, John Cryer, with Mariel Hemingway and Margot Kidder as Lois Lane. Superman 4, his most important adventure, the quest for peace.
Hey YouTubers, Hankster here, and welcome to video 5 of our Superman movie review marathon. And today's video we're going to be focusing on Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, or I like to call it Superman 4, The Quest for a Piece of Shit. Because this is basically literally what this movie is. Now, of course, as you all know, this was the last movie featuring the original, most of the original cast members that had been in the all previous 3 movies, including Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder, Jackie Cooper, and Mark McClure. Of course, the cast also included Mariel Hemingway and John Cryer. Yep, Alan from 2.5 Men. So basically, you call it 2.5 Superman, even though there's only one Superman in the movie. Of course, Gene Hackman also returns as Lex Luthor, which kind of goes by this constant thing they keep doing, is that either they when it's like, as of yet, the only major Superman villains that have ever been in the movies has been Lex Luthor and Zod, and of course, as if reports are true, Zod's going to be coming back in the new, upcoming new Superman movie coming out next year. And of course, basically, even most of the TV series, even though they did feature other characters like, you know, Brainiac and Metallo and Bizarro and all, and Mr. Mxyzptlk and like, but you know, most of the time the major villains was always Lex Luthor and Zod. And just hopefully sooner or later they'll bring the other villains into the spotlight more often, and especially in the movies. Now, of course, one of the reasons this movie was a piece of shit was because all it basically was a big preachy piece of crap about, you know, anti-war or anti-nuclear arms and stuff. Using Superman as sort of a platform to push their little agenda. Christopher Reeve, of course, had admitted he was an anti-nuke person at the time. Now, basically, basically the back story is, of course, it's Superman learning that he cannot solve all the world's problems, even with his superpowers. I mean, and of course, this is not a new subject when it comes to a comic book superhero. I mean, one of the major tests of this was back in the 1940s during World War II, or even beforehand, when they would print up comic books on the cover that has like Superman or another superhero beating up on the bad guys, in the sense of, you know, the Axis powers, Hitler, Mussolini, and Hirohito, and then, of course, in the comic book itself, they would just basically go off into a regular storyline without Superman actually getting involved in anything like the war or anything. Because basically, you know, if they actually did, but then you had to go back in reality and know that, you know, Superman really didn't do these things. We're still in war, and, you know, basically they just didn't really want to push reality into the comic books, because comic books and movies and all that is basically an escape. It's not supposed to involve you know, superheroes trying to handle real world situations. And of course, nowadays they kind of do. I mean, you know, superheroes getting involved with 9/11 and all that stuff. Even though when you turn on the TV after reading your comic book, you know, it's pretty much still the same. And all, but you know, here's Superman taking it upon himself to rid the world of nuclear arms, and basically all it did was he fall flat on his face, and he realizes that he can't do everything. You know, he can't solve all the world's problems, even with his superpowers and stuff. And yeah, I mean, that's an interesting lesson that, you know, any superhero fan should, you know, learn, even though it is, you know, fantasy, but you know. Of course, Lex Luthor returns with the help of his newest sidekick, his son Lenny, played by John Cryer. If you want to know offhand, you want to get ahead of yourself here. Yes, this character is just as pathetic as Alan on 2.5 Men, even though he's not really he's not divorced or trying to pick up weird chicks. Now, of course, it seemed like the side story in this movie was more interesting than the main plot. Here's while Superman's trying to end all nukes and battle Lex Luthor once again. Daily Planet has its own problems when it's taken over by an unscrupulous tabloid Franchier and his daughter, who of course is placed in charge of the thing. But of course, the side plot was more interesting than the freaking movie itself. I mean, you know, Clark had to pretend, you know, has to be both Superman and Clark, and he had to play it so that, you know, I mean, as you know, Lois still, at this time, doesn't remember that, you know, that he and Clark are the same person, even though he did jog her memory again to make her remember to try to get some advice on how to handle things, and you know, handle the main plot majorly. But I think it was kind of cute that the bad girl had a crush on the goody two shoes, and you know, usually it's the other way around. Like the good girl's usually going after the bad guys. This time around, it's the bad girl going after the good guys, and it kind of changes her for the better. She realizes that there's more to life than just making money, and you know, I think that was a better. It was definitely a better plot than the anti-nuke bullshit that was the main plot of the movie. Another pile of disappointing bullshit was, of course, the superpowered villain that Superman had to go up against, and that was, of course, Nuclear Man. Now, of course, there is actually a Nuclear Man in the DC Comics, but that's just one of the aliases to Firestorm, who is Firestorm, the Nuclear Man. That was his original title when he first came out around that time. But this Nuclear Man's, it's pretty much, it's a pretty boy with a stupid outfit with some lame powers. And his only weakness is that if he's prevented from being in contact with the sun, he loses his energy and he turns into a lifeless husk. Pretty stupid. Now, originally, here's how I was disappointed. Now, I went to see this movie in theaters when I was a kid. I heard that Bizarro was going to be in this movie. And they even went as far as, and you can find this comic, there's a comic book version of this movie. And in the comic book, there are the scenes where Lex Luthor, before he creates Nuclear Man, he creates this Bizarro-like character. It's not really Bizarro, but if you look at him, he kind of reminds you of Bizarro. He's childlike. He's kind of dumb. He doesn't really speak. And there. Now, of course, there are deleted scenes featuring this that they actually filmed, but they didn't put into the movie. That was the disappointing thing. I went to go expect to see Bizarro, and they took out all the scenes. And one of the reasons is because I did see this. It used to have a magazine for the movie, and it showed all the behind the scenes and the scenes of this movie, and they did feature this. They did mention it by name. This was supposed to be Bizarro, their version of Bizarro, and they took scene out, and they didn't really give any explanation. Now, obviously, when you watch these particular scenes, it's in the the Superman movie 4-pack DVD set, not the big shiny silver one, but I'm talking about I think it's like either a 1 or 2 DVDs pack with all 4 movies in it, and this one has all the deleted scenes, and does feature the Nuclear Man 1 or Bizarro scenes. And the movie version is stupid. The comic book version is a little bit better. It's supposed to take place, if you want to know when in this movie it takes place, if you watch the movie, the actual movie, Mariel Hemingway's character invites Clark to go with her to a nightclub to help him with this project she wants to do about introducing people in the nightlife of Metropolis. And Clark, they never really show the scene in the movie, but when he gets there, Lex Luthor lets loose Nuclear Man 1, Bizarro, and Bizarro picks up a girl, and she gets electrocuted because he's made out of electricity. He's originated by electricity rather than nuclear energy, like Nuclear Man, the second Nuclear Man is. And Clark finds out, he turns into Superman, and they have this pretty goofy looking battle in the streets near the club. So it's right after she invites him to go with her to the nightclub. So, and Superman, basically what happens is that Superman destroys this Bizarro creature by punching him, and he crashes into a light pole and an electrical pole, and it destroys him with the overload of electricity. So basically, this was just one. It was not just a piece of shit by just watching it. It was also a very bad disappointment to me when I first went to see this, and I have to agree, it killed the series for over 20 years until, of course, when Superman Returns hit theaters in 2006. This Superman 4 came out in 1986, right after this little, this 2-year period where they saw kind of still coming out with Supergirl and Santa Claus the movie, and then Superman 4. And, basically the Saw kinds were still trying to keep themselves in the limelight by doing 2 movies between the Superman movies, which, really didn't help things, but, because they did pretty good, and they're kind of cult classics, but, they're not like the original first 2 Superman movies. And of course, it didn't really kill the Superman, Salkind's connection with the Superman movies, the Superman project, because within a few years they went and did the Superboy television series. The Salkinds were the ones behind the Superboy television series in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, and of course that lasted like 2 or 3 seasons. So the last hurrah was the Superboy television series, even though a lot of elements that they put forth in the original Superman movies found its way into other Superman projects, like Lois and Clark and Smallville and things like that, and even in some sense in Superman the animated series. Now, hope you enjoyed this little review of Superman 4, Quest for a Piece of Shit, and stay tuned here for, we're going to, of course, have the, we're going to do, of course, Superman Returns, but before that we're going to go into a sort of almost a movie that almost escaped totally being noticed, but it's sort of another Superman spin-off movie. It's, of course, Steel, starring Shaquille O'Neal. That is, of course, it's a Superman, kind of a Superman spin-off movie, even though Superman's not in it and he's not really mentioned in it, but I'll explain to you in the next video, which will be the Shaquille O'Neal movie Steel, based on the comic book character from DC Comics as well, which is also was supposed to be a supporting member of Superman at the time. So stay tuned here for more reviews and whatnot here on the Multiverse. See ya.